kind of network bandwidth which is been has to be provided, what is the availability, or what is the different like a scaling which is required, kind of a horizontal or the vertical scaling. All these things can be considered, and uh, like in the AWS costing for the resources, we should be using all these billing alerts. Let's say you are using AWS services, right? So you have bought so many servers, and you have hosted your application into the cloud. Every month you need to know how much money you need to pay for it, right? So there is a billing alert which will come to you. Let's say if your service has been used 80% of the target threshold that you have kept. Let's say you wanted to use 100 TB terabytes of the data, or maybe 50 TB of the data on a monthly. When your particular alert reaches the 50 TB, it will give you an alert to the customer saying that whatever the threshold that you have set is already been raised. And also every month you'll get the billing alert. So even still I get the billing alerts for the resources I deploy into the cloud. This is usage for this particular month, then this is the cost that you need to pay for your resources. When we create your user, right, I think when anybody creates their user into the cloud, they need to go for the billing of your credit card information, everything. Automatically every month you get the billing based on the resources which is being used into the cloud, right? But initially for AWS will give a certain limit for a couple of services as a um, what do you call I mean storage space, and also some services fee allocation. You'll have it when the particular threshold will hit. You'll be notified that whatever the threshold that you have kept, it is being reached. And if you are, yeah, I mean, using those services beyond that particular threshold, you would be charged based on the services which you have used from the cloud. And this AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, this is one of the feature that where we can see that how much money that we need to pay for a particular service. This is also like we can use this particular service to understand how much bill that you're going to get it for the services which you are using it from the AWS. And optimizing over time. So I think I just uh, took this point sometime before. Let's say you have your application or the services which has been already in the cloud, right? It's always a good best practice is that you have to frequently get into the solution and see if there is any optimization can be done, if there is an existing setup can be changed to use the latest services which are being introduced in the AWS. If you can use those services instead of the services which you had used earlier, and where you can save something out of it, right? So this kind of optimization over time is one of the best practices in AWS. So if you're planning something into the production, it doesn't mean that you are done with that and you have to pay same amount of time. You can still go with the services, it's not a problem. But if there is any new services which is giving you the lesser cost for it, where you don't know those services, there you lose some money. It's always better to save the money for yourself and also to the customer. So it's always understand the new services and the features which are coming into the market, which has been introduced by the AWS, and take those services to the into the production again. So you can do some kind of modifications, and also uh, change the existing service, and deploy the new service to run the same business without any interruptions. You don't need to shut down your application. You just only to migrate from one service to another service. That should be taken care in the cloud. Okay. And operational excellence. These are all, like the best practices, or the procedures which can be used to manage your production workload. Uh, so when once you have the data which is there in the production, right, you need to know like how the production load can be taken care, and those aspects, development things are one area. But when it comes to the production things, right? So the previous point which we discussed about optimizing overtime is also one of the good practice for the production optimization. So when you have something in the production and you wanted to do a frequent visit to the existing services, and uh, like see if there is a new services which is giving a best performance, or like any additional features which is been introduced by that new services. It's always a good practice when you're dealing with the production applications. It's not always only the development application that you dealt with AWS services. You some majority of the time you need to have uh, catch hold of the production services, and I mean the existing process in the production environment. Okay, I think the perform operations with code, and align our operations process with business objectives, make regular or small or incremental changes. So I mean, that's what I was talking about, right? You need to always do some kind of revisit, and kind of you need to always plan some incremental changes, or any kind of small change request which you wanted to put into the production. You can always do that in the cloud. It always welcomes you that without being interruption of the existing business. The AWS will always do the incremental changes which has been there in the production. Okay, learn from operational events and failures. We need to have, learning always from the failures which is being put into the production. So sometimes whatever we have planned and designed the cloud with the services, right? So there might be some failures happens, and like some of the events which you need to uh, capture as part of the operational practices. So those things, it's always a kind of a learning, and you need to revisit those services, and understand if there is any failure. The You need to again put your failure mechanism, failure management, what you have seen right earlier. Those kind of failure management is in place or not. You need to always revisit your services, and keep operations procedures current. So it's always we have to up to date with the services. Okay, coming to the operational excellence in the cloud. So here it's a preparation, operations, and response, right? So we'll talk about in detail what these three services or the areas will take us into. The first one is, operation checklist will ensure that workloads are ready for production operation, and prevent unintentional production promotion without effective preparation. So when we have applications which are being deployed into the production, and unconditional production promotion, what it talks about is you need to have the particular application. If there is any change planned, we need to have the control over your production operations, and we shouldn't be it shouldn't prevent any kind of unintentional production promotion without effective preparation. So we need to have well prepared for any kind of changes that we wanted to put into the production. And also there is a one more mechanism which talks about is runbooks and playbooks. There are different teams which operation teams, or your development teams, kind of what they do, like perform normal daily tasks using the run books. There will be a run book created, and as well as any kind of guidance for responding to the unexpected operational events. So they would be having all the run books with them, and they know how to run it, and what is the periodical way of running it, and if there is any kind of a unexpected operational events, and those things will be captured in the run books. And routine reviews for business cycle events can driven changes into the operations should also be performed. And here what it talks about is, all your runbooks and playbooks should be fully tested, so that if there is any kind of gaps, or any kind of a challenges that can be identified uh, well in advance, and all those things can be potentially, we can mitigate those failures, or a kind of failure, I mean kind of a risk, well in advance. So that's where all your preparation, what you're doing in the AWS, will help you to do mitigate all your uh, failures. And also mechanisms to track and learn from failures should be in place. So you need to have kind of a run book where it talks about, or where you track all your failures in the system or the servers, uh, be it at database level, or the network level, or the storage level, or scaling level. All those things you need to be capture and understand or track, so that it will be for your future learning, right? So we have to kind of when we take such changes into the system, how we do the change request, list of change request captured in different logs. Similarly, you should have the mechanism to track and learn from the failures in the applications here. And the fifth one is environments, architectures, and the configuration preparations. There should be a document in a way that allows components to easily identify for tracking and troubleshooting. So you need to, when you are dealing with services in the day AWS, so there are very vast services. Couple of them are very frequently used, couple of them are very rarely used. But when you have a document which says what services do what, so you should have at least that high level document which talks about how to handle any kind of configuration changes, any kind of a failures, how to track or how to troubleshoot any kind of issues which has been raised by the business or the customers when your application is in the production, right? So you need to have all the um, troubleshooting tips in handy to track or automate all your particular services. So that's where this particular kind of a preparation, when you're dealing with any kind of a production environment, you need to have it in place. And coming to the AWS services, and also like AWS Cloud Formation, which we would be using for all kind of required resources. And when it comes to the, we are talking about only the production environment here, no? So because mostly in the production only we would be requiring all the services and the cloud formation things, which I mean reduces opportunity for a human error. So it all configured well in advance when your services are being deployed into the production. You don't need to do kind of any cloud formation or cloud watch or anything logging mechanism. So these are all thing will be done automatically from the services which is been given by the AWS. And even as I mentioned here, right, so AWS config with the AWS config rules features create mechanism to automatically track and respond to the changes in your AWS workloads and environments. So all the configurations is one of the key thing, AWS configurations, and you need to have a set of rules and the features for it. All the rules will be set well in advance when you are configuring your AWS application. So all this configuration and the rules will be taken care without any human interventions, and it should take care of your AWS workloads and your environment information. So let's say you'll be having, uh, if somebody wants to host their applications, right, they would require development environment, I mean pre-staging, staging environment, pre-production something, right, as we discussed earlier, and the production environment. So with the configuration, with the kind of configuration that you are doing for the, uh, you know, development environment, for you to develop something on the development environment, when you wanted to do the production environment, you would be changing the servers to the pre-production servers. except that what are the configuration that you have used in the development or SIT or any kind of pre lower environments, it will be the same as the production thing. So AWS gives that feature to have a similar environment to be created across, but only when we going to the higher environment, we just only change the servers in order to point out to the pre-production or the production servers or SIT servers, right? And coming to the operations point of the AWS, okay. Even operations that we work in the AWS, it will be manageable in a routine basis, which means like automation process. Let's say if you have some frequent changes can be made easily, right? So that can be automated and deployed into the productions. And if you have some kind of a tracking, auditing, or rollback changes or the review, all these defined mechanisms should be in place. Because if you wanted to track something, there the service should be in a well-mannered, equipped with tracking that, and auditing will be done. And if you wanted to roll back some changes from the production which has been deployed, right, the rollback steps should be well configured, and it all automatic. Okay, everything is automatic here. We are not talking about anything manual, and even the review of the particular mechanism, all these things will be in place in the as part of the operations. And if you're doing something kind of a changes are not in large or frequent thing, or required scheduled downtime and require manual execution. So if you are planning for any change, you should not be plan the change, very large change at one time. You should instead you should plan something to smaller chunk of changes, and put those things into the production, because you'll have the track of what has been failed and where you need to go look and fix that particular surveys, instead of planning for a large change. And the troubleshooting will be very panic in terms when you do the large change deployments of the period, and infrequent. So you shouldn't be planning for changes very frequently, and you should have the particular time frame to move the changes into the productions as part of the operations manageable any kind of thing. And schedule downtime. So you you sometimes you need to do a schedule downtime to restart your particular server, a couple of servers. So uh, you have to plan well in, I mean well in advance all the scheduled downtimes,